Fears can be our biggest drivers. We cannot control everything which happens in our lives, and sometimes bad things happen, which makes us end up with different fears. Fears like fears of failure and rejection, fears of disappointment and not being good enough, fears of dependence and loneliness, and others. I was born in 1992 in Azerbaijan, a country which has just become an independent republic and went from real war, where thousands have died, to the Cold War, which still continues until today. It's a small, beautiful country which is located right in the middle between Europe and Asia. And on the outside, my country is trying to blend in with the Western society, while on the inside, it is still has deeply rooted traditional conservative beliefs, where often your family decides everything for you, starting from whom you will marry and when, ending with career choices. So as a child, I was kind of weak and shy, so my mom decided to give me to sport ballroom dancing at the age of 6. And first few lessons ended up in tears, but then they couldn't get me out of there for the next 10 years. And dancing had a major impact on my life. It allowed me to travel around the world and see how diverse this world is. We were 5 times national champions, and this offered me a huge new perspective. I realized that life does not have to be in any certain way, and I actually have a choice to make it the way I want it. So coming from a culture where woman's role was often to just take care of her husband and children, I grew up with my mother as an ultimate role model. My parents got divorced when I was 7, and back then divorce was something barely acceptable in Azerbaijani society. But despite all of the pressing societal norms and expectations, my mother wasn't willing to accept unfaithfulness, violence, or being kept in a cage. And there are still so many women which are staying in unhappy, unfaithful, and violent relationships, violent marriages, because of a number of reasons, but one of the main ones being financial dependence on their husbands and just someone else in general. In fact, 1 out of 3 women in the world experience some kind of domestic violence or sexual abuse all over the planet. So for me, fear of dependence was very strong from childhood. I was afraid to end up like many women around me. So at the age of 18, I decided to start up my own company. I founded Alza with a budget of $200, which I gathered during high school years, while putting aside a few cents every time mom would give some money for food. And we had our office in a coffee shop. We would order 1 tea and sit there for a whole day. But today, Alza has 2 boutiques of evening and wedding dresses, standing 2 stories tall in the center of the capital of Azerbaijan, Baku. And all of that without any outside investment. All of this is being managed by a few young girls, oldest of them being myself. I just turned 24 years old. And this has been not only a challenge for me personally, but also for the whole society around me. People would give me a lot of "it's impossible" kind of feedback for a number of reasons, like not having no exposure or money, no support or backing from powerful people. And often for being a girl, they just wouldn't take me seriously in the beginning. Every time someone would enter a shop and ask for the owner, they would refuse to talk to me, calling for a man. Call your father, they were saying. I cannot discuss business matters with a little girl. So often when people are asking me, like, what led you to start your own company at such an early age, Zara? Why dresses? Why entrepreneurship? And one of the main questions being, weren't you afraid to fail? Well, why dresses? Because that was the only thing I had any kind of experience in after 10 years of dancing. Why entrepreneurship? I had no idea this word even existed back then. What led me to actually start a business was fear. To be precise, my fear of dependence, because I was afraid that one day I will be stuck in unhappy, violent relationship and won't be able to sustain myself. Fears that I won't be able to help, to take care of my loved ones when they need me. And was I afraid to fail? Of course, but in this specific situation, my fear of dependence was much stronger than my fear of failure. And when I imagined that I can have the same life as so many women around me, I made a decision that I'm going to use this fear and not let it use me. So if at first stage, the fear of dependence pushed me to work 24/7 to start building my company, then fear of failure actually started to kick in much stronger later on. 1 year later, when I was 19 years old, my mom lost her job unexpectedly. And in a matter of a week, I became finally responsible for the whole family. My mom, my younger sister, who was still at high school back then, my diabetic grandmother, mortgage, car credit, and a cat, which is a lot. This is when I realized that I just don't have a choice. I cannot fail my family. And fear of failure pushed me to succeed. Today, I am additionally responsible for 15 more families, 15 young women working in Alza, all of them being primary breadwinners in their families. When last year we had 100% devaluation of our currency, over 2 nights, my costs literally doubled. People's ability to buy fell. Big companies started huge layoffs, and dozens of shops started closing all around us. But again, exactly this fear of failing my team pushed me to make things happen, because I knew that firing any of these girls would mean a starving family. So we gathered as a team. We had one really long meeting where we decided that no matter what happens around us, we are going to make it work. Somehow, we are going to make it work. And we managed not to only survive, we actually managed to grow and open a new branch. The third fear, which played a big role in my life, was fear of judgment. For as long as I can remember myself, I would try to balance all the expectations from the outside world with voice from the inside. Just as there was this voice which kept on whispering the same questions, just as Mulan, my favorite Disney cartoon character, was asking herself. And because of a number of experiences which happened in my life, and in general social society pressure, I've always felt that I have to be the best in everything I do. Otherwise, I won't deserve love and appreciation. Otherwise, it wouldn't be enough, that I wouldn't be enough. So my converted fear of being judged and not being enough led me to try to be the best in everything I was doing. In dancing, at school, in ISAC, which is the biggest youth-run organization in the world, and where I became local committee president just 2 months after joining the organization, and so on. So obviously, I'm not the only one with all of these fears. And I realize that women especially have this fear of saying their opinion, fear of not being good enough, fear of just not following what they really want to do. So all of these fears and experiences inspired me to start a space, to create the space and tools for women to be able to follow the coolest, craziest, and the most impossible dreams they have. This is how Wow Woman came to life 1.5 years ago. It exists to girls, women, to first identify what their dreams are, and then give them the resources and help them build up the skills and confidence they need in order to be able to actually get to those dreams. In 1.5 years, it grew from a single enthusiast myself to a group of 50+ dedicated women who are working every day to making this happen. In 1.5 years, we managed to organize more than 80 events, trainings, seminars, and master classes, 14 programs from topics, everything starting from IT school and entrepreneurship program, ending with meetings with psychologists and yoga classes. We are getting up to 800 applications every week from women eager to learn, grow, and connect. And more than 5,500 women already passed through our programs. And these are the women whose enthusiasm and confidence is just really growing with every next event. Going around the world and sharing my story on international conferences, the more I was sharing, the more requests I was getting from other women to open it in their cities. So last month, we opened positions for our women ambassadors, where any woman who is passionate about empowering others can apply and open a chapter in her city. So we are now in the middle of this global movement to be able to create a space for women so that they can dare to follow their dreams, live up to their full potential, and enjoy the process itself. I now believe that we have a choice to treat our fears as enemies or as friends. You can try to see what are they trying to teach you. How are they helping you grow? How are these fears helping you grow? You can use them as a compass. You can use them as a drive. Instead of just muting them or ignoring them or blindly fighting them, first you need to identify them and understand where they're coming from. When you're home, somewhere quiet, just take a moment and ask yourself, what are the main fears which are limiting me in my life? I'm too young, I'm too old. What if I fail? What if I get rejected? I'm not good enough. Which ones are affecting you the most? And then close your eyes and imagine, what are the consequences of having these fears in your life? What are they costing you? What did they cost you in the past, and what are they costing you right now? If you're going to pull all the weight of these fears on you 5 years in the future, how is your life going to look like? What are you missing on because of them? If you're going to keep using them, treating them as enemies, if you're going to keep letting them limit you, how is your life going to look like in 5, 10, 20 years? Don't just go through it. Actually take a moment when you're back home, you pause a video, I don't know, and actually imagine all of this, all the projects and ideas that you're not starting, that you cannot have a healthy body or a fulfilling relationship. All of these things that you're missing on because of this weight on your shoulders. And then as a third step, roll back all the way and imagine what will happen if you convert them into a drive, a push, a force, which will serve you and those around you. How is your life going to look like in 5, 10, 20 years if you actually manage to convert them and use to your advantage? My converted fears got me to the most amazing places I wouldn't even dream of. My converted fear of dependence got me to start a company at the age of 18. My converted fear of failure helped me to actually succeed and help those around me. My converted fear of judgment helped me become better and better every day. They got me to places like Harvard Conference and Global Entrepreneurship Summit hosted by President Obama in Stanford University. They helped me to become one out of just 4 from around the world to receive full scholarship from the program in MIT. They helped me travel all around the world and have 50 flights this year alone. They helped me build financial stability, and they helped me meet amazing people that I'm love and grateful for so much. But most importantly, they helped me find my mission. Mission which gets me up every morning. Mission which is already helping hundreds of women, and I believe and will make sure that one day will help millions. The question is, what are you going to do with them? Mute them, ignore them, complain about them, find dozens of excuses of why you are not starting something? You're masters in this, right? Finding excuses. Or are you actually gonna convert them and transform into the drive, a push, a force, which will get you to the coolest, craziest, and the most impossible dreams you have? Thank you.